For those of you guys who are watching who don't know who Steven Matz is, get your head out of your butt. He is a New York Mets pitcher. Happy birthday, by the way. Next
Thank you.
week is your birthday. 29 years old. Drafted second round, 2009 by the New York Mets out of Ward Melville High School in New York. That's in Long Island, right?
Yep, Stony Brook. Or actually, Talcott, but
my wife is from New Hyde Park, so I think you're a little east of that.
So I'd be east of that. Yep.
Okay, cool. MLB debut 2015 at 24 years old, young buck. Went 4-0 that year, 2.27 ERA. Left-handed pitcher, 6'2", 200 pounds. Is that still accurate?
Actually, I'm a little taller than that, and I'm probably like 6'3", 210 now.
Okay. Still growing, young buck, still growing. What's up, man? It's been so long. How's everything going? I know it's crazy right now, no season. What's your kind of, coronavirus is messing everything up. What's going on with you in baseball? You heard anything? How's that all going?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's obviously everybody's kind of been hearing the same thing. It's I feel like players haven't really been. It's kind of like we're the same as like the public, until government's restrictions come off and stuff. I think that's when we'll see some more movement there. But down here it's been great. We've been like I said, there was a group the other day of about 10 of us guys who played in the major leagues, and we got together, we threw some live VPs up in the field and everything. So it's been awesome being down here because there's just so many guys to stay in shape. So it's been good.
That's sweet. I've got to be honest with you. I haven't been the best of friend in the past year. I haven't kept up with you too much. So I had to do a little searching on Twitter to see what's been going on with my man, Steven Matz. And the last post I came across, I saw this thing. You had some shirts going out, Truth 32 and Pastime with Purpose. And I actually went on the site and bought a couple shirts for me and my son last night. And I was reading into it, and it sounds like it's some really cool stuff. You're doing it, donating money to the first responders in New York or all over. Can you just tell me some more about it? I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. So in 2015, we had a good run. I had a pretty good season in the, my first year and pitched in the World Series. So I sat down with my agent and he's like, and he knows kind of my passion of, trying to make an impact with the platform and stuff. And he has the same idea. So we did a few different things, and he knows how I kind of respect blue collar workers and kind of the service members, military, police, firefighter. And so we started by just inviting them out to a game, 32 members, whether it was police, military, or firefighter, and they could bring a guest, and I would just meet them and say hello. And anyway, it started really like taking on a life of its own. And, people started, like my agent was up in recruiting the kids somewhere up in, like Chicago or something. And he mentioned that I was one of his clients, and he's like, oh, I heard what he's doing with the first responders. And at that point I was just, giving them my time. And so now we're building scholarships for kids who lost their parents in the line of duty. And, now with pandemics like this, we're going to obviously help out. So it's been awesome. And it's kind of really taken a life of its own. So it's been pretty fun to be a part of that.
That's sweet, man. That's so cool. I mean, ever since I met you, I know you were a real genuine, caring person. We got to spend some time together down there in Port St. Lucie with the Mets in that hotel room. Whose hotel room was that we were
That was mine and Dotson's.
And we just crashed there every day. There was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 dudes that was there every single day, which was awesome. But you've always been a great guy, genuine guy, a big heart. And I know the New York has got to love you for doing stuff like this. I mean, the first responders up there this is basically the epicenter of the pandemic right now, as far as I'm hearing down here in Florida, is in New York, so taking care of those guys is huge, and they love that stuff. And obviously coming from someone like you who is super sincere and passionate about what they're doing, I'm sure they love it and appreciate it across the country. So I wanted to do something too. I didn't tell you. I know you might have saw in the little paper I sent you, but I wanted to do a giveaway of those shirts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy 10 of those shirts and give them away to whoever. What I want the people who are watching to do, if you're watching this, leave a comment down below and just tell us what you're going through, your story in baseball, some of the struggles that you've been through. And I'll go through and pick the top 10 stories and comments, and I'll give away a shirt, one of Matt's shirt. Really cool shirts. Tell us about the shirts.
Yeah, so I mean, I got to give my agent credit on that. You know, he's big into it, which is really cool. You know, because sometimes the agency could be a little cutthroat type of business. But my agent's just passionate about serving other people, and so he's just sending me designs all the time. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I'm just like, that's great, that's awesome. I'm not very creative. Mine would be a little more simple. So yeah, no, he came up with it and just kind of back and forth. So it was cool.
But, I love the black one with all the words on the back. Like I forget what the words were, but they were like motivational, like hard work,
yeah,
or, stuff like that. That one looks good on you, man. You look good like a model. I was like, who, because when I first opened the webpage, I see it and I just see the guns, from the neck down. I was like, oh, that's Matz. Hey, all right, buddy, I see you. And then the other one says Truth 32, and you were talking about 32 guys came to the game or whatever, and the reason why is that's your number in the big
right.
game. So that's cool. What is the meaning behind truth?
It started with True 32 because a lot of kids or whatever say, oh, you're our hero, being a baseball player on the field. Well, it's kind of reflecting that towards military, police, and firefighter, who are the true heroes of our community. So that's where it came. That's where we started it.
Oh, that's sweet. That's really cool. What is Pastime with a Purpose?
So that's actually Brad Ziegler's. It's actually like the official foundation. He does a lot of work with military, and so he's part of our agency. And so if the money's funneled through his and then given to True 32, because mine's not like people can't get a tax write-off if they would do it to me, so that's why they can do it through Pastime with Purpose. And it's all lumped into the same idea through service members of our country. So
that's so cool what you guys are doing, man. I love it, and I'm glad I found out about it and happy to be on board and happy to help out in any way I can. I've got the YouTube channel, so anything you guys need to help get the word out, whatever I can do, just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let's talk about your baseball journey, because like you said, a lot of kids look up to you. And, I, as a young kid myself, and I'm sure you as well, my whole goal was to be a professional baseball player. That's what my dream was to do. And millions of kids across this country have the same goals. Tell us about your baseball journey, where you started. Was it in, T-ball, how it went all the way till you got drafted into the major leagues? And also talk about some of the struggles that you had along the way that you had to overcome, because there's a lot of struggles along the way. This ain't easy, I'm sure. So tell us your story.
So it started, I have an older brother, 3 years older than me. So I just remember kind of wanting to do what he was doing, and so he was playing, we called it instructional league. We never played T-ball for some reason, but he was playing instructional league when he was 6 and I was 3. And I don't know if I remember it or if I watched home videos of it, but I just remember running around out in the outfield. I had a righty glove on my wrong hand, and I was, but I had always kind of had a good arm when I was young. And I remember then when I became 6, I was in instructional league, and I remember just firing that ball. They were a little bit lighter balls. I remember just launching them. And then when I was 8, I got to play up in travel ball, and that was when kids pitched to each other. And so actually that's when I started. I was playing against Marcus Stroman when I was 8. We were both playing up to the 9-year-old kid pitch, and he was on the SIAG Braves and I was on the Three Village. No, he was on the SIAG Braves and I was on the Three Village Yankees. And so, that's when it started. And then I was always pretty, advanced for my age. And then what happened was, your wife can tell you, being from New York, we got a lot of Italian kids. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
They go through puberty pretty early. And so
they got them thick legs too.
Got some thick legs. They got hairy armpits, and I'm here this little. I got no development, no muscle, and so through junior high, I felt like those kids got stronger, and I'm staying down here, and so my skill was always there, and I love the game so much. That's the only thing I wanted to do. So my skill was there, but just my sheer strength and all that stuff, these kids started getting a little ahead of me, and so I would say from 7th to about even like 10th or 11th grade, I still was like behind the curve a little bit as far as like just strength. You know, like I couldn't really hit home runs. And so, you know, I remember it was after my junior year of high school. I wanted to go to play Division II college to go play first base. And so my dad signed me up for the showcase in Connecticut. And I went to go play first. I really wanted to play for Franklin Pierce in New Hampshire because they were a powerhouse D2 school, wood bat. Thought that was cool. I was like, I'm going to go play first base at Franklin Pierce. I want to go to the showcase and get seen by them. And so I went and pitched, and I'd never been clocked before. Now this is going into my senior year. And so I pitched, and I struck out like 5 out of 6 guys, and I was throwing like 87 to 89. I was like, whoa, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm a gangly lefty, and all the scouts just start coming to me. You know, I remember Boston College was like one of the first ones in this tournament team. They're like, hey, you know, you want to come to the national showcase in Minnesota at the Metrodome? And I was, me and my dad were like, you serious? Like, yeah, we're coming. And then I was throwing 91, and I was like, holy cow, I have no idea I threw this hard. Now I got agents contacting me, all of a sudden professional teams, big D1s contacting me. And it was like a blindside, you know, like the blindside movie. We got guys coming into your house and all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what happened here? After a few months, I'm like on the mat, you know? And so I ended up committing to Coastal Carolina, which I was talking with Brad Rock the other day. I was like, I don't know. I'm watching this Last Dance show, you know, about UNC and all that stuff. And I'm like, these guys were recruiting me. I didn't even give them a chance to offer me because I loved Coastal Carolina. So anyway, I committed to Coastal Carolina, and then had a really good senior season. I got up to like 95. I started catching up to these guys, you know, physically. I started filling out a little bit. And then the Mets came calling, and they had a lot of interest in me and offered me enough money to, you know, to bypass college. So I signed, and I got drafted in June, signed in August 2009, and then 2010 blew out my elbow. So I didn't even get to pitch a professional pitch, and my elbow went. So I had Tommy John, and supposed to come back in about 12, 14 months or so. But for me, it took me 2 full years. And so I missed signed 2009 August. Season was already over. Came back 2010, blew my elbow out, missed all 2010, missed all 2011. And so my first professional pitch in the game was 2012 in rookie ball.
Wow.
And then, so I had a pretty good year, but I didn't really know anything about routine or starting. I haven't pitched in so long. And then my shoulder started hurting. So I got shut down early. And so then 2013 came around. Now I'm starting to get a routine down, figuring it out. I pitched a full season in low A. And now my knee started hurting. And so at the end of that year, I missed maybe one start, but I pitched a full year, had a really good year. We won a Sally League championship, which was so awesome. Nice. And then at the end of that year, had patella surgery, rehabbed that a little bit year. And now they added me to the 40-man roster, which was a big surprise to me. Hey, my dog's barking. And then, so they added me to the 40-man roster. I was only in low A, so it was a big surprise. And then I got invited to big league spring training in 2014, and then started that season in high A. I got called up halfway through that year to double A. We won a Eastern League championship. So we won the double A championship, which was awesome. That was like probably one of the highlights of my career, because I pitched, I think it was 3 series, you know, and I pitched game 3 and I took a no-hitter into the 8th inning.
Wow.
And, you know, I got to hit in double A. I hit 2 balls to the warning track. So I thought I was awesome, you know. So that year ended really good, had a great year, was healthy, ended the year healthy, came back the next year, started in AAA Las Vegas, and had a really, really, you know, it was probably the best I've ever pitched in my life. You know, that's a really hard league to pitch in. And for half a season, I think I pitched to like a 2.2 ERA in the PCL for like 90 innings. And I got called up that year in 2015. And you know, I was throwing so well in AAA, they were trying to save my innings because they knew I was probably going to get called up. So I'd be at like 75 pitches in 7 innings, 75 pitches in 6 innings, and they would pull me. Wow. And so I got called up to the major leagues in June 28th, 2015. And, you know, I threw 110 pitches. And, no, adrenaline and everything. And so I was used to throwing 75 pitches. And so had a partial tear to my lat my first game in the major leagues.
Oh my God.
And so I was pitching and, I was, the next game I went out, my lat was just hurting me. And actually I went through 6 shutout innings in LA, but my lat was just not feeling right. And so 2 starts in the big leagues, shut down. Then I got sent to Port St. Lucie back to do more rehab, which I'm pretty accustomed to at this point. And then, came back, had 4 more starts in the big leagues, and then we made the playoffs. And so, boom, I was pitching game 4 of every series in the playoffs. I was able to pitch the clinching game of the NLCS against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, which was awesome. And then got to pitch game 4 of the World Series. We lost that game. And so that was a wild year. And then just been big league since. Had another elbow surgery at the end of 2016. Had another elbow surgery at the end of 2017. Got both of those years cut short. And then 2018, 2019 had 30-plus starts or 30 starts in each of those seasons. So,
wow,
that's my journey.
That's a great journey. Obviously, a lot of struggle there. Like we were talking about. It's not an easy path for anyone that's wants to be a professional football player. But for you, it happened really quick. I got some questions just listening to your story. First of all, growing up, were you a Mets or Yankees fan? You gotta be honest.
So, being honest, as I got drafted, I was more of a Mets fan. All right, but when I got drafted, it was like, hey, are you a Mets fan? I was like, yeah, I love the Mets. And then it was like, boom, he's a Mets fan, diehard Mets fan. And, at the end of the day, my family were really the bigger Mets fans. I was such a baseball fan. It was like I would watch players and I'd get attached to that team. And then, I watch another player. I'm like, oh, I want to watch them. I was a huge Vladimir Guerrero fan. And so I loved watching the Angels because I could watch this guy throw people out from the warning track and hit a ball that bounced in the dirt. So, at the end of the day, I was a little bit more of a fickle sports fan.
Well, my Aunt Wendy is a huge Mets fan. So I just want to give Aunt Wendy a shout out right now. And she actually is still up there in Long Island in New Hyde Park. We're trying to get them to move down here to Florida. So if you could say hi to Aunt Wendy and tell her she needs to get down to Florida for us.
Aunt Wendy, you got to get down to Florida. We'll come watch some spring training games.
There we go. I'll bring her to a spring training game.
There we go.
All right. And then my other question was, this happened pretty quickly. Like you said, you were in high school the first time at that showcase throwing 86, 87. And then by that next year, you were topping out at 95. What did you do? Like, how did you get there? Like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, what's crazy thing is I didn't really know anything back then, so I didn't really do anything. I just remember, I would just rest and then throw. My arm would just be hanging. I'm like, oh, his arm's killing me. And then I would just be like, I'm not picking up a ball for 7 days. And then I would throw. And then it would just be this vicious cycle. And, in all honesty, I think what happened was I just grew. I gained strength. I did a lot of pitching lessons as I was young. But, from my senior year at high school to when I actually started pitching in professional baseball, I finally figured out what it takes to stay healthy, proper mechanics to where I'm not just, rocking and firing, where I can have a clean delivery that can, kind of keep me sustainable. So honestly, back then I didn't know anything. I didn't have any routine. I knew general mechanics from what I learned, but it was just throw as hard as I can and ice my arm.
So was there any programming that you've been on either then, beforehand then, or even now later, towards where we're at currently? Or was it all kind of just picking little things here and there and growing and learning and trying different things and kind of building your own philosophy along the way?
Yeah. So back when I was in high school, my arm hurt a lot in high school. I didn't even pitch my sophomore year because my arm, I think from all the growing, so I didn't really do anything. My arm was killing me then. I didn't even pitch. I just played first. My junior year, I only threw 15 innings in high school because my arm was hurting. And then my senior year, I did some physical therapy and I realized, okay, this stuff starting to help. And when I really learned the most is those 2 years when I had Tommy John coming back from that. That's when I started actually building a routine. And, I started just kind of picking and learning what works for me, what makes me feel good, and just running with it, you know. And so at this point now, I feel like I have my routine down pretty good. There was a time, you know, earlier in my major league career where I would do way too much, and by the time I'd be out pitching, I'd be fatigued. And so it's picking and choosing, you know, what helps, what works, band exercises, you know, isometrics, you know, not too much stretching, but enough stretching to gain your, you know, your mobility back, conditioning, running, stuff like that.
Let me ask you this. I hear this all the time with parents and young players.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to go get Tommy John because you come back throwing way faster after Tommy John. You attribute anything to having the surgery? Like, do you wish – obviously you're doing well, so it wasn't a huge detriment to you. Mm-hmm. But do you believe – what's your belief about having the surgery? Is it more of the rehab that you did afterward and understanding that routine that really got you back, or was it the actual surgery? What's your stance on that whole thing?
Yeah, my stance is definitely it's the routine, it's the rehab. I never knew what any of these little exercises were, getting these little muscles and everything in order. I never knew any of that, and so by the time after 2 years of doing it, I actually did throw harder. I remember one of my first games where my elbow was finally starting to feel better. I was throwing, I think I hit 97. I never hit 97 in my life, and you know, but it wasn't from getting a tendon replaced in my elbow. You know, it was 2 years of learning my body, working on mechanics during that time, try to clean up my delivery, and a lot of it was attributed to the rehab that I did. You know, being in shape properly, not the right way. So.
Right. So for any of you guys listening out there, you could do the same exercises that Matz was doing before you get hurt and just call it prehab instead of rehab. And, chances are you may not get hurt, or at least be in a better place to where you not get hurt and see the benefits of the velocity increases. Yeah. So take it upon yourself now to put in that work. And I'm sure, there's stuff online on Tommy John rehab. Like, you can look it up for free, I'm sure. And it's going to give you some great ideas on exercises and things like that. What have you topped out since then? Like, what's your fastest ever?
I think, it was 2013 that year. I think it was 98 was the highest, but in the big leagues, I think it was 97. But now, after a few surgeries and stuff like that, I think I average like 93 is my average. So
nice. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about my perspective on you I don't know if it was spring training or we were both rehabbing together, because I had hurt my shoulder at the time. And I remember we were doing a drill. You remember those softballs that they had? They were like brag balls or whatever. So we were hanging out together, and every day we were going to Friendlies all the time. How many times did we go to Friendlies
too much?
That Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Sunday, like every other day, I think we went. That thing. But I remember we were doing that competition at Port St. Lucie, and whoever it was, I forget who it was smashing balls at us, and it was like a knockout competition.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever saw you pitch yet. I never saw you pitch at that point. Just hanging out with you, I saw you crushing Reese's Peanut Butter Sundays and fielding ground balls. And I remember seeing you. You won the competition. And there was dudes like me. I was almost probably 30 years old at the time, in AA, and, had 6 years of pro experience at the time. And you were just coming in as, you were 18 years old, maybe 19 years old at the time, with all these dudes. And we were trying to beat you. Everyone's trying to beat Bats, the young guy, the second round draft pick, new stud on the block. And you came in there, and I just remember you being so competitive in a good way, not a bad way. You were always smiling and stuff, but you kicked our butts. And I was like, I remember that day, and I was like, this dude is going to be a big leaguer. He's got it. He's got what it takes. And I never saw you throw a pitch. You were just fielding those little rag balls. But I just remember that thought, like, man, this kid's got it. This kid's going to do really well. And that was my perspective on you.
What's funny is, who was hitting those balls was Donovan Mitchell's dad.
Oh, yeah. And he was smoking them.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, who plays for the Utah Jazz, won the dunk competition and everything. That was his dad hitting those balls.
He was such a cool dude.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He was so cool. Who else from that group are you still around? Do you still talk with or still playing? I don't know. I haven't really kept up.
I know. So I do talk with John Holtzcomb every once in a while. Big Johnny.
I love that guy, man.
Down in Florida. He's doing good. I talk with Big Scott Mobile every once in a while. Dotson every once in a while.
Those guys, Mobile and Holtzcomb. I kept up with Holtzcomb for a couple of years. I haven't talked to him in maybe 2 or 3 years. Now I got to get back in touch with him. Love that guy. But I remember Mobile and Holtzcomb. That to this day, I remember them whenever we would, go hang out somewhere or anything in a big group of people. They would always do this thing where they like call someone across the room. They didn't know anyone across the room. They were both huge, right? They were like 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
So like they stand out in the crowd already. And then they're just going like this. They look all the way across the room and they're like, hey, hey, hey. And then like, people would be like, who, me? They're like, yeah, you. And they're like, they had no clue they were just messing with people. And people would come over and they would start walking over to come talk to them. And then Mobile and Holtzcomb would just walk past them like they're still talking to someone over there. It was the funniest thing ever. I tell my wife about it all the time. It's hilarious. But yeah, those guys are cool dudes. Man, I miss Dotson too. I got to get up with him.
Yeah.
Who else was in that room that we were hanging out with?
Was it Daryl Sicilian? He might have been after. Yeah. Daryl Sicilian. Yeah. Jeff Glenn, maybe? No. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson, he was around.
Oh, yeah, Jimmy Johnson. He was just getting out as I was coming in, though.
Yeah. That was some fun times. You remember People Chat or Chat Roulette? So for people who don't know what that is, it's basically like a website. I don't even know if it's still around, but it's a website where you get on and then these random people show up in front of you and you could like talk to them, or they could skip you, or you could skip them and go to the next people. And it was hilarious, some of the things we would see there. And we were just messing around and it was just so much fun.
That was fun. Oh, sorry.
Let me ask you this. When I was looking up your name to do some research on you, I always called you Matz or M-Dog. We called each other M-Dog. And then so I was searching Steve Matz, and I see everything coming up Steven Matz. And then I saw a nickname as Rend. So what do you go by? Do you go by Steve? Steven? What is Rend? Okay. I'm going to call you M-Dog or Matz, but let us know the rest.
So, I growing up, I think a lot was called me Steve. My parents called me Steve. And then when I got married, my wife, she always called me Steven, and her family calls me Steven. And so it's just been this big blend of Steve and Steven, old and new. And then I don't know where Rend came from, but I think it's Reno. Maybe what you're thinking.
Oh, so there was a mistype online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had you as R-E-N-D.
Oh, okay.
What's Reno?
Okay. Reno. So what happened was, on Players Weekend, you do the nicknames and stuff. And so my dad and my uncle, when I was young, they would always call me Steve Reno, and then my nickname became Reno. And so I figured, for my dad and my uncle, I'll do Reno on the back of my jersey. And so it's not really a nickname anymore, but I was just kind of like, doing it for them. But that's where that came.
Well, you'll always be M-Dog to me. Hey, do you have a ball by you by chance?
I can grab one really quick.
Please.
Yeah, I'll go get one.
Is your wife from Tennessee?
Yeah, she's from Alabama, actually.
Oh, okay. Is she a Alabama girl or an Auburn girl?
Ooh, she's Alabama. Her dad went there. I'm sorry.
Can you tell her John Manning says a big war eagle when you get
Still source effect from this winter.
Hey, you're a little country now. I'm not gonna lie, man. You got like a little country look to you. You got a little slang in you too.
Dude, I it's kind of embarrassing to say that, but like it rubs off on me, and I feel like I'm a chameleon because like, people are like, "Oh, you got Southern accent." I'm like, I don't didn't notice it, but I guess you're right. I don't want to be that way. I got to be true to who I am, but at the end of the day, just happens.
Hey, it's a good look on you. Do what you're doing. All right, so I wanted you to get a ball. Can you show us your pitches that you throw, how you grip them, and what you're trying to do to the ball, how you're trying to make it move, and
Yep.
what you're trying to accomplish?
Yep. So actually, I've been learning a lot this spring from all that new technology with the Rapsodo, with our new pitching coach and stuff. So this here is my two-seamer going right across the seams like this. And actually, this pitch normally is two-seamer. It's supposed to run to my arm side or sink more. But for whatever reason, learning from the Rapsodo and, the information coming back is my dog's going to try to get the ball.
It's got bite marks all over the ball.
So anyway, this pitch plays more straight, surprisingly. And so I didn't know that. I always thought, it's going to go run to my arm side. But this pitch plays more straight. And so my four-seamer, let's see if I can get it, the horseshoe going this way, I come across like this. This pitch plays, it actually runs more, which is so strange because, four-seam, I always throw it to my glove side, so inside to a right-hander. My two-seam, I always throw it away to a right-handed hitter. And so now I'm starting to realize, well, if this pitch is my four-seam is running more, this is something that I was working on in spring, and I'm trying to throw it inside to a righty. Well, I give up a lot of I get hurt a lot with home runs. I give up a fair amount of home runs. And if I didn't, my numbers would be way less. And so this pitch, if I'm trying to go into a righty, it's going to run back over the plate. And so what I was playing with this spring is taking my two-seamer and pounding it into a righty because it plays more straight, so I can stick it in there more. And so that was something that I've been working on, and it was working a lot for me. It's pretty cool. So that new technology, which at first I was kind of against, actually is helping me out. So anyway, I also throw a four-seam changeup, circle changeup. So same way as I would throw my four-seam fastball right here, I take my ring finger and my middle finger and go across and hold it pretty loosely, and I kind of make a little bit of a loose circle right here. And as I throw it, I try to think fastball, but also as it comes off, I want it to have like side spin so it goes straight down. Sometimes if I kind of push it like this, and try to help it be a changeup, it's generally up in the zone, more flat, and it doesn't have that depth that I want to where it looks like a fastball and then just kind of, like they say, pull the string, it drops off the table.
And the batter's seeing a lot of palm coming too.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, and then I try to help it, my shoulders fly open instead of staying behind it and through it and letting the grip do the work. So that's my changeup. That pitch has really developed for me lately. It's really helped me. This spring, especially, it was almost like turned into a strikeout pitch. But generally, usually I want to get back in counts with it, 2-1, 2-0, second, third time around, float a changeup in there and hope to get an early swing, maybe a ground ball or something, get them out in front. So that's the idea with that pitch, is just to get them off my fastball. Next one I throw is a curveball. And so horseshoe going this way here, come right across. And I kind of like almost, wrench I want a lot of pressure on this seam right here. My thumb, sometimes I mix around with where my thumb's at. Sometimes I like to move it up a little bit, and I feel like I can throw it harder and it doesn't, it doesn't pop out, And so actually I didn't know I did this until I got to the big leagues where there was like pictures of me pitching or video, and I actually spiked my finger a little bit, like this here. And so it's not a full spike, but it's just really putting all the pressure on this seam right here. And so I mix around with my curveball. And actually last year I started throwing slow curveball, which, it sounds crazy, but even if I slow up my arm, I'm not too worried about it. The more thing I'm worried about is just, I want to bounce this thing on the corner, the back point of the plate. And so second or third time through the lineup, I want to try to throw a curveball that's a lot slower, that they recognize. And, I was working on my live BP the other day, and what happened was I think of just picking my foot up and getting it down and then just pulling the front of it down and not even worrying if I slow my arm down. I want him to see curveball and it hit the plate and then just like kind of be like, oh, I had it. But no, it's not quite getting there.
Are you throwing that like sub 70? Like you throwing that in the 60s?
Yeah, the goal is like low 70s, even below. But in the season with the adrenaline, it was like 73 or 72. And so it's not the curveball that I always want to throw for strikeouts and stuff, but I want to show them to keep it in their mind and think that they're on the curveball, and then this one just never gets there. And then the other curveball, which was a little bit harder, I'll normally mess around with my thumb. I'll put it up on the ball, and I'll just really try to pull the front of the ball down. Just rip it, And this pitch, where I get hurt with this one, it's up in the zone. So it's the same thing. I just want to keep this pitch down in the zone. And then the last pitch I throw, which I'm getting away from it a little bit. It's really effective for me, but happens it gives me a blister like right on the corner of my finger, and it is such a nag to pitch with. I mean, last year it was like bleeding during the game, and I would have to glue it in between innings. But it's a slide. It's like a cutter, really, more than a slider. And it started as kind of throwing it the same way as my curveball, but I actually would put my thumb way up here. This is how DeGrom and Syndergaard and them throw their slider. They actually put their thumb way up here. Wow. And they just think fastball. And as they throw it, the thumb kind of helps it just come off like this. And, they throw their slider 93, 94 miles per hour. And actually, I think Wheeler throws his like this too. And so it's more like a cutter. It doesn't have too much depth, but it just like fastball and just last second. I actually changed my grip, mess around with it. And so if you look at it like a two-seam, I kind of come across here and kind of come across it like this. And so really all I'm thinking of is I'm not trying to, curve it or anything. I'm just thinking pull straight through the ball and the way my grip is. It's going to come off that way. And this pitch really, doesn't have a lot of depth to it. It's kind of more horizontal. But really, a lot of my stuff, like my four seam's going that way. My two seam is more straight, but still going arm side. So my slider, I just want it to come in at righties. That's really all I care about. I don't care if it has too much depth. I want them coming in at them so they can't stay on my stuff going away like my changeup. So that's kind of the whole arsenal.
I got two questions for you.
Okay.
First of all, are you allowed to pitch with your wedding ring on?
No, I don't think they would let me. So I take it.
Take it off during the games. And then this is a weird question. Do you throw with it during practice? I'm just wondering like how it affects you, or do you take it off always when you throw it?
Whenever I throw, yeah.
The other thing is you mentioned the grip pressures on your changeup, your curveballs, and your slider. What about the two seam and the four seam? What is your pressure? Like how tight are you holding it?
I feel like I'm holding a medium pressure. Not too loose. I know DeGrom holds his pitches like really loose.
Really?
And maybe I'm something there. But for me, I'm kind of medium. If I squeeze the ball, I get in trouble,
And where's your arm angle at?
My arm angles, what's funny is it actually changes a little bit, but it's pretty much like a high 3/4 type of arm slot, pretty high 3/4. But, it's funny. Our pitching coach, one thing is like, during the season, as you know, John, that our arms are not going to feel great every time we go out. And so your body just naturally adjusts as to what you do. And instead of having focus on a repeatable delivery, your body just gets it done because you got no other choice. So that was something that, having a consistent delivery, but focus so much on repeatable delivery, you can get a little mechanical. So it's more about being an athlete,
That's a great – I never heard that before, but that makes a lot of sense because what I've heard before was your body naturally wants to accomplish the goal that you're putting in front of it. So if you're sore or whatever and you can't find what your repeatable delivery is or natural or where you normally are, but you still got to get big league guys out. You got to find a way. You got to figure it out some way to get it done. That makes a lot of sense. I love that because I always heard like you want to have a repeatable mechanic, repeatable.
Right.
repeatable. Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't feel good to be there.
No,
That's right.
yeah, to get it done, whatever it takes. And you know what? That's what's I learned a lot from watching Stroman this year. You know, he's really quirky. He's funky. All he cares about is like his balance, like, and his core, and just being like an athlete. And so like DeGrom is like an insane athlete. And so like I think that's like more important is like once you know, first for young kids it's about, you know, finding a delivery that you can put your arm in good positions and all that. But at the end of the day, like the better the athlete you are, I think the better you're going to pitch.
That's so true. And by the way, pitchers are the best athletes on the field out there.
100%.
It's proven.
Yeah.
We prove it every day. Let me ask you this. Who is Matt's going out to dinner with on the Mets? Like, who are your boys? Like, who are the guys you're hanging with outside of the field? I know you're a family man. I know you're going home to the family, but when you get to go get a dinner or a day off, who are you hanging out with?
Yeah, so DeGrom, me and DeGrom, you know, I think it was after you left the Mets, DeGrom came in, and you know, I went through my second year of rehab and so in 2011, me and DeGrom became like really good friends, and so he's one of my best friends. You know, like I was in his wedding, he was in my wedding, you know, and so he's my guy there. We're pretty close.
Very nice. Now, I want to talk a little bit about mindset when it comes to pitching. Is there anything that you do, like visualization, or any tips or tricks that you have for the mindset you have to when pitching in the big leagues?
Yeah, and so, you know, this is something that I would say came a little later for me. In the minor leagues, once I actually got started pitching, I didn't really have too many failure. Like I've had bad games, but I threw pretty well. You know, like I never had over a 3 or 8 throughout my minor league stint. So it's like it just kind of came a little bit more easy, where it was just like just pitch and get it done and everything. And then once you get to the big leagues, story. And so then you really, you know, wow, this is half the battle is between the ears, you know. And so we had some pretty cool, you know, mental skills coaches and stuff, and I've learned a lot from them. And this guy now is talking a lot about visualization. He has a lot of different stuff like that, and a lot of it is just like watching highlights of yourself before you go out and throw a bullpen, you know, and seeing the success, you know, because all of a sudden when failure comes, it's like you start doubting everything. It's like everything that you've done, all of a sudden you have one bad game in the big leagues, or 2 bad games or 3 bad games, and you start doubting everything. So doing that kind of mental rehearsal and actually seeing it, it actually helps a lot. Another thing that actually helped me a lot, I don't know if this is kind of a mindset, is Mickey Callaway, our manager last year, who's a pitching coach. He, you know, for me, I'm really competitive, like you said, but sometimes to a fault, where in game everything speeds up. Like I start squeezing the ball, and I just want to get the pitch and go and go and go. And so what happened was he's like, get an in-between pitch routine. And so it was something really subtle that took like no time at all. And I would step behind the mound, like I'd get the ball. It would be like 1.5 seconds. I'd kind of tuck my glove, fix my hat, and then step back on the mound. And that was something that I could control every time. Whether what was happening, I can control this right here. And then that's getting me ready for the next pitch. Because that's, at the end of the day, all that matters is what you're about to do next, you know. And so I think that actually really helped me let the game not speed up, and kind of, you know, focus on what's next at hand. Is, I guess it's kind of a mindset, but also building a routine, you know.
I love that, the watching yourself have success. Like, so do you have like a highlight reel that you look at like before some games?
So I used to look at the World Series game. I have my iPad, and it's just like, I don't watch the game, but just like each pitch, you know. We have this program. And so I used to always go back to that because I felt like my stuff was really crisp. And, you know, in the World Series on the biggest stage, I used to watch that game a lot. And then now, you know, some of these guys, their job is to make us these highlights that we can watch, you know, getting different guys out, maybe guys in our division or whoever. So, yeah, it's been cool.
That's really cool. But I was big on visualization always growing up. My dad was. He wasn't a baseball player. He played high school football, but for some reason he was He knew about visualization. He taught it to me. And so I would always imagine who I was pitching against that next day and see myself, force myself to have success against those guys before it happened in my head. So I was like seeing myself strike out those guys before it happened. But this makes it so much easier because that's tough, like to make yourself to see them. And the more real I can make it, the more like even adding colors into my vision and having that visceral feeling in my body, the more it was true and the more success I had. But seeing it on tape like that is that's a great piece of advice. I'm gonna start using. I'm stealing that from you or whoever you got it from. Thank you. You got a couple more minutes, or you got to go? Okay.
No, a couple more. Yeah.
What about advice to parents of players, young players who aspire to be professional pitchers? Like, what you got any advice for the parents?
Yeah, I think one is, and this, I don't have kids yet, but it's something that I hear is, the parents, they get crazy with it. You got to be on this travel league, this travel league. I didn't get seen until I was going into my senior year. And so I think taking the pressure off having to be on this travel team or this select team or whatever, just don't burn your kid out, and I think try to encourage him to do other sports. This way he can be a really good, well-rounded athlete. I think, me playing basketball and hockey and, soccer when I was young and stuff like that. I mean, ultimately I was obsessed with baseball. So that's all I wanted to do really. But I think all that other stuff just helped me become a well-rounded athlete, which in turn helps me now, carry those skill sets I learned from little to now. So I think don't put the pressure on that don't let any coach say your kid's got to be on this so he can get seen at college when he's 12 or 13. That's false. Just let him be a good athlete, let him enjoy it, let him learn competition, and then I think as he gets closer and through high school, he'll get found out.
Well, I knew that you were going to be a great big league pitcher from your ground balls. I know that you're going to be a great dad. I can tell already. You're just an all-around great dude. How were your parents with you coming up?
Yeah, I think we were kind of caught off guard, because my brother stopped playing middle school baseball. I mean, nobody in my family played baseball, so it was just like, I'm obsessed with it. And so they wanted to just, as probably you would want to do for your son, like just want to do what your son likes. And so I was begging my dad to take me to the field. And then, so once we got to high school, I remember like, they were just like ecstatic. We had scouts in our house every day. Like, this is insane. Like, what happened? So it was pretty cool. My dad enjoyed watching me play and stuff. So.
Well, M-Dog, I appreciate your time, man. You are the man. I'm going to watch you more this season. If we get a season, hopefully we get a season. What are your thoughts? You think we're going to get a season here, or you think it's we're going to skip this?
I'm back and forth. I think I'm hopeful that we'll get a season. I would like to get back out there and play, but you just don't know. Right now it's hard to say. But hopefully the whole country as a whole in this coronavirus, we can start getting on the other end of this thing, and then it will look better.
Yeah, that's probably the most important thing, is making sure everybody's safe and healthy, and then we can get back to real life and get some baseball in our life. It's funny, real quick before we end. Last year I watched one baseball game, and my brother-in-law called me, and he says, Mets versus Braves, and Matt is pitching. Why don't you come over? I was like, all right. I came over, watched the game, and Donaldson was playing for the Braves. I went to Auburn with Donaldson, and so I watched you pitch against him, and you struck him out. And it was, it was this weird thing where, I wanted you both to succeed. And I was happy when you struck him out, and then sad that he struck out. It was this weird combination, but it was totally cool. So that was the only game that I watched this year or last year, but I want to keep up with you better this year. Again, thank you so much. You are the man. For those of you watching, again, leave your comments down below. Let us know your story, some of the struggles that you're going through in baseball or in regular life. and I'm gonna buy 10 of those shirts. Let me know your size. Let me know which one of the shirts you want, the black one or the white one, or it comes in gray as well. Just let me know what you want, what size you are, and I'll order it from the website and get it shipped straight to your house. I'm gonna pick 10 of you guys. If you don't win, go support the website anyway. I love what Matz is doing. I love what you're doing, man. I appreciate everything you've done. You've been super cool, and I hope to catch up with you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, M-Dog. Maybe we'll get some ice cream one day.
Hey, yes, we have to. I'm still crushing it. My weight's a lot higher than what it used to be.